Hi everybody, Dan Heelan here from Heelan Associates with another frequently asked question. This time around, what is bookkeeping? I think a lot of people see bookkeeping as kind of a menial task, something they don't really understand. It's a bit of a term, and I think most people see it as, if we were to ask and do a bit of a survey, organising your receipts. It's quite normal to say, I do the bookkeeping, and it's a nice box of receipts all filed in 12 months with everything in Polly Pockets, for example, or it might be a spreadsheet listed by category of what they've spent in their business. Now, whilst those things are brilliant things to have and a great start, they're not quite full, what we would call as accountants double entry bookkeeping. Now, double entry bookkeeping is a brilliant concept where it allows you to reconcile, let's say your business bank account, every penny that goes out of there, where it was spent. What that means is at any moment in time when done properly, you can bring up a document referred to quite often as a balance sheet that shows you the bank balances on a given date, the amount of money you as your owner, if you're a limited company, might be owed, or as a director. It'll also show you assets like things like computers and vans and what they're worth these days, and the liabilities of all the things you might need to pay for. So really, really good bit of an important document. Now, to do that is a lot more difficult than just keeping your receipts or just categorising everything. So some of the software providers out there right now, like your Xero and your QuickBooks, if you've seen them advertise, are fantastic bits of kit. We love using them and we use them with all our clients where possible. However, what they won't do is take the human element out completely. You need to go in, and whilst you could do your own bookkeeping and tell it what things are, it's bringing all these things together so that those balances are accountant ready at the end. And if you're a limited company, those accountant ready accounts will then get taken over and turned into what they call a full set of statutory accounts to go to the taxman in a special tagged format, or to Companies House, normally in a reduced format, just shows the state of play of business. So all these things are important and can't be done without good bookkeeping. Now, why do you need good bookkeeping? That's a really good question, and apart from the reasons we've just said, the main one is, I think, in order to make good business decisions, you need up-to-date figures. You can't get up-to-date figures without up-to-date bookkeeping, and the result, if bookkeeping's not your thing, or you'll look at your own rate and what you charge and what a bookkeeper would charge, and you make more, it makes complete financial sense as an investment to invest in that bookkeeper. So one of the things I think that's key to remember is when you're looking at taking on a bookkeeper is the most common question is, how much is it going to cost? Well, bookkeeping rates vary massively depending on the skills and expertise. I know my guys in my team, most of my team have gone through 4 years of training. It is a profession and it is something that is a very skilled job to do properly. We're not just talking about, yes, I spent this one receipt and it was on stationery in Argos. It very much is that reconciliation progress and bringing it into one smooth, fully reconciled document so that you can make the best business decisions. Now, what my team can do, for example, or what any trained bookkeeper can do in 1 hour is going to be more efficient than perhaps what you could do in 4, especially if they're using the right technology and systems. Experienced bookkeepers will be able to look at what you do in your business and recommend good systems to make that really efficient. And that's where the key comes. So if you're looking at hourly rates, you need to bear in mind how long you would take to do it and what you charge, and then see that as an investment. I think as long as it's an investment, and I very much believe that you shouldn't spend money in business, you should only invest it, you should get a good return for that. The other thing, of course, from a pure hard pound point of view, is if you're missing tax deductions by not capturing all of your receipts or not treating the VAT correctly. VAT is an incredibly complex bit of tax law, and if you're not getting out there and really know your stuff on the VAT, you're going to be missing out on tax deductions, or on the flip side of it, you could be claiming things that you're not allowed. Especially with VAT, there's some very high pitfalls on things you think, oh yeah, I could definitely claim that, and you just can't. So as you begin to be VAT registered, the bookkeepers will really start to earn their money. So the follow-on question will be, when should I hire a bookkeeper? Well, I think in many situations, if you're a sole trader and you're not VAT registered and you've got reasonably simple affairs, you could probably do without one in the initial stages. If you're keeping a digital record of all your different expenditures and incomes, and it's easy enough to translate onto a tax return for either an accountant or yourself, then I think you'd be fine. But if you are over the VAT registration threshold and therefore in making tax digital, as it's known, or you're a limited company, my advice would be to get one right at the start. Even if you're really good with books and records, if you've got VAT involved, I think it's definitely an area where you'll benefit from having professional advice. The other areas I would massively consider it in is it's down to time. I see so many business owners that are really, really busy in what they do, and they just don't have the time. And at that stage, if you think about how many calls you could make, how many sales calls, how many prospecting calls you could make, how many networking dues you could visit, how much client chargeable work you could do. If you're a Sparky, how many home visits could you do? Or, do you want to be sitting on a bank holiday Monday at 9 o'clock at night looking at your paperwork? The answer is going to be no. So at these points, you really need to look at whether the investment in a bookkeeper is going to be right for you. And I think the answer is going to be one you already know. So the other frequently asked question we'll get asked a lot with this is, well, couldn't I just do it myself? I'm really good bookkeeping. I once did an office job somewhere and as a result I'd be really good with paperwork. Well, that is a really good skill set to have and you might well be really good. What I would say is, again, if we're going back to VAT, what's your VAT knowledge like? What's your tax deductibility like? The current tax law in the UK is around 22,000 pages and counting. Tax law changes daily, and having an opinion, and it's very opinion-based accounting and tax. So you might think there's a rule book, and in some cases there is a rule book, but quite often it comes down to your exact scenario, your exact situation, and whether in that instance something's tax deductible. And all these things can be dealt with on a bookkeeping level that can save time and money. So when you start to bring in these things, aside from the time that you could be doing other things, I think generally you should be looking for a bookkeeper. However, if you really don't and you really feel quite strongly about it, there's some great tutorials out there online for using things like Xero and QuickBooks. So make sure you check those out. I would 100% recommend some sort of receipt scanning app. QuickBooks and Xero have both got their own solutions in HubDoc and the native one inside QuickBooks. You've also got Receipt Bank, Auto Entry. There's a couple of main players in that market. So you 100% can do it yourself, but I would consider all the wider points as well. The other thing is, if you are doing it yourself, the one thing I'll 100% say to you is, as accountants, we love people who are operating on Xeros, your QuickBooks and the like. It makes it very easy to collaborate with a client who's using these, even if they're doing their bookkeeping themselves. It's very clear to see what they're doing, how they work in it, and if they've managed to pull a good set of records together, we'll always be thankful. So you can't do any wrong from my point of view if you're on software already. So finally then, the question we get asked a lot as well is, what's the difference between an accountant and a bookkeeper? Because as we've just mentioned, they're very closely linked. A good bookkeeper will know a lot of detail about VAT, tax deductibility, how to bring those accounts together fully reconciled, and all those things are key skills that any accountant will need. And as a result, you just get different businesses with different specialisms. You get some accountants who aren't bookkeepers, you get some bookkeepers who are practically accountants, and and quite often they'll work in quite a close relationship with each other if they don't have internal bookkeepers. Here at Hill & Associates, we massively believe in getting close to businesses, so we've got our own team of in-house bookkeepers. It doesn't get outsourced or anything like that, because we believe that's the best way to do it. But quite often there are firms that are fantastic just bookkeepers on their own, and they'll work well with a good accountant as well. So it doesn't really matter, just make sure that you quiz them. There's a video that we did on choosing an accountant and the traits to look out for, and I think that a lot of those relate to choosing a bookkeeper as well. So check that video out. Okay, so if you've enjoyed this guide, make sure to click the subscribe button and check the videos out on our site. If any of this rings home and you want to explore some options with regards to bookkeeping, please do give my team a call. We'd love to have a chat with you.